My name is Priscilla. Standing on the terrace of my penthouse, overlooking the glittering lights of New York City, I'm reminded of how far I've come. It's Thanksgiving, and the place is filled with warmth and laughter, a stark contrast to the cold receptions I endured in the past. My family's sudden change of heart is still fresh in my mind. Earlier, when the elevator chimed and my parents stepped out, holding a pie and wearing forced smiles, I knew this was the moment of reckoning. "Priscilla, this is extraordinary," my mother gasped. "Thank you," I replied evenly. "Dinner's over, but you're just in time for dessert." Their exchange of glances said it all. This wasn't the grand entrance they'd planned. As I recall, I was always the overlooked middle child. My sister, Sophia, 5 years older than me, was the apple of my parents' eyes. She was a born socialite, charming everyone she met, from school teachers to our neighbors. And my little brother, Ethan, 3 years younger, was the baby, the one who could do no wrong with his sweet nature and gentle demeanor. I, on the other hand, was the reliable one, the quiet achiever who never quite got the spotlight. We grew up in a well-to-do neighborhood in San Francisco. My father was a high-profile lawyer, and my mother was a successful real estate agent. They were all about appearances, social status, and maintaining a perfect image. Family dinners were always centered around Sophia's latest social conquests or Ethan's school achievements. I learned to blend in, to smile at the right times and offer polite conversation when needed. I went to college in Los Angeles, majoring in business administration. I chose it because it was practical, a surefire way to build a stable career. And build a career I did. Through late nights at the office, endless meetings, and countless business trips, I climbed the corporate ladder until I became a senior manager at a prestigious investment firm. During my college years, I met my ex-husband, Ryan. He was ambitious, just like me, and we thought we were a perfect match. We got married young and bought a small apartment. We had 2 wonderful children, Ava and Leo. For a while, I thought I had finally found my place in a loving family. But life had other plans. Ryan's job took him to the Midwest, and mine kept me in California. Our relationship slowly crumbled under the weight of distance and exhaustion. We divorced amicably, but I was left with the kids, the mortgage, and the responsibility of raising a family on my own. I thought that after the divorce, my parents would be there for me and my children. But the first Thanksgiving after the split, my mother called and said, "Priscilla, it's going to be a tight fit this year. Sophia's bringing her new boyfriend, and Ethan has some friends coming over. Maybe you should come alone." The words were like a knife to my heart. I looked at Ava and Leo, fast asleep on the couch, and I knew I couldn't let this cycle continue. Over the next few holidays, the pattern repeated itself. My mother would call with a rehearsed excuse, and then I'd see pictures on social media of their perfect gatherings. Sophia's new boyfriend was always the center of attention, and Ethan's friends were all having a great time. Ava and Leo would look at the pictures and ask, "Why doesn't Grandma and Grandpa want us there?" I never knew how to answer. I'd bake them cookies and put on a movie, pretending that we were having the best time ever. Then one summer, I received a call from my mother about a beach house vacation. "Priscilla, there's been a problem with the plumbing at the beach house. It's just not safe for the kids this time," she said. I was skeptical, but I didn't argue. Later that day, Ethan texted me a picture of the beach house. The place was spotless, with a new pool and a renovated deck. Sophia and her friends were having a great time in the background. I felt a fire inside me. It wasn't about space. It was about who they chose to include in their lives. Ava overheard a conversation with her cousin, Lily. "Your mom's apartment is so small. Grandma says it's no fun there," Lily sneered. Ava came to me with tears in her eyes and asked, "Mom, is that true?" I knelt down in front of her and said, "No, baby. Our home is full of love, and that's what matters." That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling and decided that I was done being the silent victim. I opened my laptop and started looking for penthouses in New York. I knew it was a big step, but I wanted a new beginning, a place where my children would feel valued and loved. I worked with my financial advisor, Maria. She was impressed with my financial situation and said, "Priscilla, you can afford something really special. And so, I bought a luxurious 5-bedroom penthouse on the Upper West Side. It had a panoramic view of the city, a state of the art kitchen, and a spacious living area. I didn't tell my family. I only confided in my best friend, Sarah. When I showed her the pictures, she said, "This is not just a place. This is a statement." As the months went by, Ava, Leo, and I spent our weekends decorating the penthouse. Ava painted a beautiful mural of Central Park in her bedroom, and Leo put up glow in the dark stars on his ceiling. Standing on the rooftop, looking at the city skyline, I knew that they would never be able to say there wasn't enough room for us again. Then, a few weeks before Thanksgiving, my mother called. "Priscilla, we're having Thanksgiving at the usual place, but it's going to be a bit crowded. Sophia's bringing a lot of people," she said in her overly sweet voice. I interrupted her and said, "That's okay, Mom. Ava, Leo, and I are hosting Thanksgiving at our new place in New York this year." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "New place? What new place?" she asked. "A penthouse on the Upper West Side," I replied. "Oh my goodness, Priscilla. That sounds amazing. Maybe we could all come there instead," she said. The next few days were a flurry of texts and calls. Sophia texted, "Mom says you bought a penthouse. Which building? The kids would love to see the city at Thanksgiving." My father called and said, "Your mother and I think it would be wonderful to celebrate at your new place. We can bring the wine." Sarah shook her head when I told her about the calls. "They're not coming because they love you. They're coming because they love the idea of a fancy penthouse," she said. She was right. When my father called again and tried to use his old authoritative tone, I didn't back down. "Dad, you and Mom never made room for Ava and Leo before. Why should they have a seat at our table now?" I said firmly and hung up. On Thanksgiving morning, the penthouse was filled with the smell of roasting turkey and the sound of laughter. Sarah and her husband were there, along with some of our close friends. Ethan showed up with a bouquet of flowers, looking a bit sheepish. "I should have said something earlier," he mumbled. "It's okay, Ethan. Just be there for us from now on," I replied. As the day went on, the penthouse was alive with joy. Ava was showing off her place cards, and Leo was giving tours of his room. At 4:30, just as I expected, the elevator chimed and my parents walked in. When Ava and Leo walked into the room, my father cleared his throat. "Ava, Leo, we're sorry. We haven't been the best grandparents. We made excuses instead of making space for you, and that was wrong," he said, kneeling down. My mother, with tears in her eyes, knelt beside him and said, "Can you forgive us? We want to do better." I stayed silent. This moment was for Ava and Leo. Ava looked at me and then back at my parents. "Will you come to my art exhibition next month?" she asked softly. "Of course, sweetheart," my father replied quickly. Leo crossed his arms and said, "And can we stay at your house without having to sleep on the floor?" My mother nodded, crying, "You'll have your own room, dear." Just then, my phone pinged. It was a text from Sophia. "Can't believe you didn't invite us. Mom says your place is amazing. The kids are so disappointed." I typed slowly, "Sophia, this is about Ava and Leo. If you ever want to be part of their lives, you should apologize to them." She didn't reply right away, and I could almost see her struggling with her pride. As the evening wore on, my father came up to me and said, "You've built something beautiful here, Priscilla." I nodded. I built what I needed for me and my kids. He looked out at the city and said, "Your mother and I thought we were doing the right thing." I said softly, "Good intentions are not enough, Dad. Actions speak louder." In the months that followed, things slowly changed. My parents started calling more often, asking about the kids' school and well-being. They came to Ava's art exhibition and were genuinely impressed. Ethan became a regular visitor at the penthouse, bringing gifts for the kids and helping out around the house. Sophia, on the other hand, remained silent. There were no apologies, just distance. And that was okay. I knew that not every relationship could be fixed. Professionally, I continued to thrive. I was promoted to the executive board of my firm, and I started mentoring young women in the industry. I told them, never let anyone make you feel like you don't belong. Build your own space and set your own rules. One spring morning, I woke up to the smell of pancakes. Ava and Leo were in the kitchen, covered in flour, laughing. When I asked what the occasion was, Ava said, "We're practicing for next Thanksgiving. We're hosting again, right, Mom?" I smiled and said, "Always." As I sit here, looking at the city lights and listening to the laughter of my children, I know that I've finally found the peace and respect I've always craved. I've learned that boundaries are not walls, but doors that we control. And I'll never let anyone make me feel small again. If this story resonates with you, drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. Have you ever had to stand up to your own family? I read every message, and your stories remind me that we're all in this together. Hit that like button, subscribe for more real stories about family and self-respect, and never forget that the most important room you'll ever create is the one for your own dignity.